The rain fell in heavy sheets, turning the city below the bridge into a blur of lights and shadows. The wind howled, tugging at coats, scarves, and umbrellas, but none of it mattered to Kayla. She stood at the very edge of the bridge, her pale, shimmering skin almost glowing in the dim streetlights. Her eyes, wide and bright with emotion, stared down at the dark waters below. She was trembling, though not from the cold. Her hands gripped the railing, knuckles white as if holding on could somehow hold her life together. But inside, Kayla felt broken, empty, and beyond repair. I can't do this anymore," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain and the roar of traffic far below. I'll never have a child. I'll never be a mother. I'm useless." She had tried everything. Treatments, therapies, hope clinging like fragile wings, but nothing had worked. Every time she thought she might finally be able to give life, every time her heart had dared to hope, she was crushed. Over and over again. And now, standing here, Kayla felt as though her own body and the universe itself had betrayed her. She felt hollow, as if her purpose had been taken away and there was nothing left to hold on to. Below, the bridge deck glistened with rain, and Mark, a human who had become so important to her, ran across the slick surface, slipping and catching himself on the wet metal. His heart pounded in his chest and he shouted above the storm, "Kayla, stop! Don't do this!" Mark had never been more afraid in his life. He didn't fully understand what Kayla was going through. Not completely. He wasn't alien. He didn't know the biological pain, the yearning she had carried for years. But he understood one thing clearly. She was in danger and he could not let her go. She was too important, too extraordinary, too alive for this moment to end like this. Kayla didn't turn. She didn't even flinch at the sound of his voice, her mind numb with despair. She felt the edge of the bridge beneath her feet, felt the wind whip past her face, felt the cold rain soaking her from head to toe, but nothing penetrated the fog of hopelessness inside her. She closed her eyes, thinking of all she had lost, all she would never have, and the emptiness threatened to swallow her whole. Mark reached her side, sliding carefully across the wet metal. "Kayla, please," he said, his voice shaking. "You're not alone. I'm right here. I'm not leaving you." Her eyes opened slowly, glistening with tears, and she turned slightly to look at him. She could see his wet coat clinging to him, his hair plastered to his forehead, and the raw worry etched across his face. Her chest tightened, not with anger, but with the strange warmth of being seen, of being understood, of being cared for in a way she hadn't allowed herself to feel for so long. You don't understand," she whispered. "You don't know what it's like to want something so badly and never be able to have it. You don't know the emptiness, the pain of knowing you can't give life. You can't be a mother." Mark took another step closer, careful not to scare her further. "I may not know exactly how it feels, Kayla," he said softly. "But I do know this: you are not useless. You are not broken. You are you, and that is enough. More than enough." Kayla's grip on the railing faltered. A shiver ran down her spine, not from the cold but from the honesty in his words. Someone cared enough to fight for her, to reach for her when she thought no one would. Her tears fell freely, mixing with the rain, and she swayed slightly, caught between despair and the fragile glimmer of hope Mark's words offered. "Please, come back from the edge," Mark pleaded. "Don't do this. Not like this. Let me help you." Kayla's chest heaved, her body trembling. The wind and rain felt endless, but somehow in the midst of it all, she heard something deeper, a heartbeat of care, persistence, and human strength calling her back from the brink. And for the first time that night, she hesitated. Kayla's hands trembled as she clutched the cold railing. The rain poured down in sheets, soaking her hair, her coat, her very soul. She stared down at the black waters far below, the sound of rushing currents like the voice of some cruel fate reminding her of everything she had lost. Her knees felt weak and a hollow ache settled deep in her chest. She wanted to give in, to let herself fall and finally escape the endless ache inside her. "Kayla," Mark said softly, taking a careful step closer, his coat drenched, hair sticking to his forehead. "Please, listen to me. Don't do this." "I can't, human," Kayla whispered, her voice cracking. "I've tried everything. I wanted a child so badly, but it's impossible. I am broken, useless, nothing." Mark's heart ached at her words. He had seen so many people give up hope before, but never someone like Kayla. She was strong, brilliant, and full of life even when she didn't see it herself. He stepped closer, careful not to startle her, rain running down his face. "Kayla, stop calling yourself useless. You are not useless. You are more than the things you think you can't do. You are more than your body, more than what you can give or not give. You are a person, and you matter." Kayla turned her gaze toward him, eyes shimmering with tears, her heart hammering in her chest. She wanted to believe him, wanted to hold on to the words, but the despair in her chest pressed harder. "You don't understand. You can give life. You can be a parent. I can't. I'll never feel that love, that joy. I'm alone in this." Mark knelt down slowly, coming to her level. "No," he said firmly. "You're not alone. Look at me. I am here. I am not leaving you. I may not be able to give you what you wanted most, but I can give you this. I will stand with you. I will fight for you. I will make sure you are safe." Kayla's chest heaved, tears falling faster, mixing with the rain. She didn't understand why a human would care so deeply for her, why someone would risk themselves just to save her. She had always believed that she was too broken, too different, too alien for anyone to care. Yet here he was, drenched, shivering, but unwilling to leave her side. You don't have to do this," she whispered, voice trembling. I've caused you trouble already. You shouldn't waste your time on me. I don't deserve—" "You deserve everything," Mark interrupted, his voice steady, though his heart raced. "You deserve to live, Kayla. You deserve to see the world, to feel happiness, to find hope again. Ending this, ending yourself, it's not the answer. I know you're hurting, but giving up doesn't fix anything. It doesn't make the pain go away." Kayla's hands slipped slightly from the railing and Mark caught them instinctively. "And I just wanted to be a mother," she whispered, voice breaking. "I wanted to love and hold a child, and I can't. I'm nothing." "No," Mark said firmly, taking her hands in his. "You are not nothing. You are Kayla. You've saved lives, you've given hope to others, you've loved in ways no one else could. That is who you are. That is your strength. That is your purpose. Being a mother isn't the only way to matter, and it isn't the only way to be loved. You are loved, Kayla. I love you, and I will not let you go." Her knees buckled slightly under the weight of her emotions, and she leaned forward, almost giving in to the despair. Mark's arms shot out instinctively. "I've got you," he said, voice shaking but determined. "I won't let you fall. Not now, not ever." For the first time that night, Kayla's heart skipped in confusion. Someone cared, someone really cared. And maybe, just maybe, it was enough to pull her back from the edge. The rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, but Kayla still stood at the edge of the bridge, her body trembling and her eyes fixed on the dark water below. The city lights reflected off the wet streets, shimmering like distant stars in a world that suddenly felt too heavy to bear. Mark knelt a few feet behind her, soaked to the bone, but he didn't move away. His eyes never left hers, steady and full of concern. "You're not alone, Kayla," he said softly, his voice carrying over the muted hum of the city below. "I'm right here. I won't let anything happen to you." Kayla shook her head, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "You don't understand. You never will. I wanted a child, my own. I wanted to hold a little life in my arms, to nurture it, to feel that connection. And I can't, I never will. I'm broken. That's all I am." Mark's chest tightened. He had seen despair before, but the weight in Kayla's voice, the pain in her words, it cut deeper than anything he had felt in his own life. He wanted to reach out, to hold her, to make her see that she wasn't alone. But he also knew that rushing in too quickly could push her over the edge. So he spoke gently, carefully, hoping his words could touch the part of her heart that had not yet given up. "Kayla," he said, Do you remember the first time you saved that little human girl from the debris field? Kyla's eyes flickered, the memory sharp and painful. She had been on a rescue mission, and the small human child had been trapped under fallen metal and rubble. Kayla had carried her to safety, holding her close as the child cried, shivering from fear. And in that moment the child had looked up at her with wide eyes and whispered, "Mom," even though she was not her mother. "I remember," Kayla whispered, voice breaking. The memory was bittersweet, a mix of warmth and sorrow. She had felt purpose in that moment, a glimpse of the joy she longed for, even if it wasn't her own child. I saved her, but that doesn't fix me. That doesn't give me what I want, what I need." "No," Mark said, kneeling closer, rain dripping from his hair onto his face. "It doesn't give you what you thought you wanted, but it shows who you truly are. You've given love where no one else could. You've saved lives, Kayla. You've made a difference, and that matters." "That is enough." Kayla's hand slipped slightly from the railing and Mark instinctively reached for her. I just wanted to be a mother," she whispered. "I wanted to give life, to feel love like that, and I can't. I'm empty." Mark shook his head. "You're not empty. You're full of life, full of care, full of courage. The world is better because of you, Kayla. You've touched more lives than you realize. That child called you Mom for a reason. You have a heart capable of love, and that matters more than anything else." Kyla's knees wobbled, her body weakened by tears and grief. She had thought she was alone in her suffering, that no one could understand her pain. But Mark's words were different. They weren't pity. They weren't empty comfort. They were real. They carried the weight of someone who cared, someone who would fight for her even when she couldn't fight for herself. "Please," Mark said, his voice trembling. "Don't step off the edge. You've survived so much. You've been through heartache, despair, and still, you've saved lives. You are strong, Kayla, stronger than you know. Let me help you find hope again. Let me help you see that you're not alone." For the first time in hours, Kayla felt a flicker of something unfamiliar, a tiny spark of hope. She looked into Mark's eyes and saw determination, care, and a human kind of strength that she had never expected to touch her heart. The fear inside her wavered, just enough for her to step back slightly from the edge. The rain softened even more, falling like a gentle blessing on her shoulders, and for the first time that night Kayla felt that maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to keep going. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle now, falling in thin, cold threads over the bridge. Kayla's trembling hand still clutched the railing, and the wind tugged at her coat. But her eyes were no longer fixed entirely on the dark water below. She glanced at Mark kneeling a few feet away, soaked and shivering yet steady, unwavering. His gaze held something she hadn't seen in a long time, absolute determination and a care so deep it made her chest ache. "Kayla," he said softly, moving another careful step closer. "Look at me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. You don't have to face this alone." She shook her head slowly, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "You don't understand, human. You can give life. You can be a parent. I can't. I'll never feel that joy, that bond, that love. I'm broken." "No," Mark said firmly, voice steady but filled with emotion. "You're not broken. You're strong. You've survived pain I can't even imagine. You've faced loss, rejection, despair, and yet here you are. That is not weakness. That is strength, and it's more than most people could ever manage." Kayla's knees wobbled and she tightened her grip on the railing. Her tears fell freely, mixing with the drizzle. She had always believed that being unable to have a child made her worthless, made her life meaningless. But now looking at Mark, seeing his unwavering presence, she felt a strange pull, a lifeline to something she hadn't thought she deserved. You care about me?" she whispered, voice trembling. "Even after everything? Even though I can't give you anything in return?" Mark stepped closer, keeping his tone calm and gentle. "I care because you matter, because your life is valuable, because you are not defined by what you can or cannot do, but by who you are. And who you are is incredible. Kayla's chest tightened. She wanted to believe him, but years of disappointment, of longing unfulfilled, of rejection, pressed down on her heart like heavy stones. I've wanted to be a mother for so long. I've dreamed of holding a little life in my arms, of feeling that love. And now it's gone. Nothing can fix it. Nothing can fill this emptiness inside me. Mark's eyes softened and he took another step closer. Maybe it's not what you expected, Kayla. Maybe it's not exactly what you dreamed of. But your life is not over. Your purpose is not gone. You've already given love in ways no one else could. You've saved lives, inspired people, and made the world better simply by being yourself. That is real. That is powerful. That is enough. Kayla's hands began to loosen their grip on the railing. Her body shook violently, but now it was from the intensity of her emotions, not just despair. She wanted to step back, to believe him, to reach for the hope he offered. But the fear of trusting, of letting go of her pain, still held her frozen. I don't know if I can, she whispered, voice barely audible over the wind and rain. You can, Mark said softly, moving within arm's reach. Because you already have. You've survived everything life threw at you. You're stronger than you realize. And I'm here. I won't let you fall. Not tonight. Not ever. Kayla's breath hitched. Her knees threatened to buckle, and for a moment she thought she might give in. But Mark's voice, steady, caring, and unwavering, was a lifeline. A thread connecting her back to life, to hope, to warmth she hadn't felt in years. Kayla, trust me, he said. Step back from the edge. Let me help you. Let me save you. You are not alone anymore. The words reached something deep inside her. Her tears fell faster, but now mingled with a strange relief. She realized she didn't have to face her pain alone. There was someone who believed in her, who would stand by her, who would fight for her life even when she couldn't fight for it herself. Slowly, trembling, Kayla took a tentative step back. Just one step, then another, and another, until Mark's outstretched hands could reach her. And in that moment, the first real spark of hope in a long, dark night began to glow. Kayla's trembling hands finally let go of the railing as Mark reached out, wrapping his arms gently but firmly around her. The cold rain soaked them both, but neither noticed. All that mattered was that she was safe. For the first time in hours, Kayla felt the warmth of someone holding her. Not just holding her physically, but holding her heart, her despair, her broken pieces. I've got you, Mark whispered, his voice shaking slightly. I've got you, Kayla. You're safe now. Kayla's body trembled violently, her knees buckling under the weight of the storm inside her. She buried her face against Mark's shoulder, tears mixing with rain, unable to form words. She had expected fear, expected the emptiness to swallow her completely, but instead she felt a strange comfort. Real, human, persistent. Someone cared. Someone had risked themselves to pull her back from the edge, not because of obligation, not because of duty, but because they saw her worth when she could not see it herself. I thought I was alone, Kayla whispered, her voice muffled. I thought no one would care. You're never alone, Mark said firmly. Not now, not ever. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You're not useless. You're not broken. You are Kayla, and you are worth fighting for. Always. Her tears soaked his coat, but he didn't flinch. He held her tighter, as if every ounce of strength in his body was focused on keeping her from slipping back into despair. Slowly, Kayla began to let herself breathe again. Each shuddering inhale was a small victory, a sign that she had survived, that she had stepped back from the edge, that she had been saved. You really care? She asked softly, lifting her head slightly. Her glowing eyes met his, still wet with tears, still filled with pain, but now mingled with wonder. I do, Mark replied simply. I care more than I can say. You are not alone in this world, Kayla. Your pain doesn't define you. Your struggles don't make you less. They make you human. They make you strong. And I see that strength even when you can't see it yourself. Kayla's trembling slowed. She leaned into him, letting the storm outside mirror the storm inside her, but now she felt a tether. Mark's unwavering presence. Slowly, she stepped fully back from the edge of the bridge, finally letting go of the fear that had gripped her heart. Mark guided her to a bench nearby, and they sat together, rain dripping from their hair and coats. Kayla's shoulders shook and she tried to collect herself, but Mark simply held her, letting her cry, letting her release months, maybe years of pain. "It's okay," he whispered. "Let it out. You've been holding it for too long." She looked at him through tear-streaked eyes and for the first time allowed herself to feel a flicker of hope. I thought I was broken," she admitted softly. "I thought I was worthless." "You are not," Mark said, voice steady, certain. "You are one of the strongest beings I know. You've survived more than most could bear. You've loved, saved, cared, and still you stand. That is strength beyond measure, Kayla. That is who you are. That is enough." Kayla let out a long, shuddering breath and leaned into him, finally allowing herself to feel safe. The rain had softened to a gentle drizzle now, like the world itself was exhaling, acknowledging the small miracle that had just occurred. For the first time in a long while, Kayla felt something she had almost forgotten. She felt alive. She felt seen. She felt hope. And she realized with a clarity that warmed her chest despite the cold rain, that she could survive this. She could find meaning, she could find purpose, and she could feel love again. Not just the love she had longed to give, but the love she could still receive. Mark squeezed her shoulder gently. "We'll face this together, Kayla. You're not alone, and you never will be." Kayla nodded, her heart slowly beginning to mend piece by piece. She had been pulled back from the edge, but more importantly, she had been reminded of something powerful, that even in despair, even when hope seemed impossible, humans, fragile, imperfect, yet extraordinary, could lift you up. And she had just experienced that. For the first time in a long time, Kayla let herself believe that she could keep going. The rain had almost stopped, leaving the bridge wet and glistening under the dim glow of the streetlights. Kayla sat on the bench wrapped in Mark's coat, shivering but slowly regaining warmth. Her hands, once clutching the railing in desperation, now rested on her lap. She felt the lingering tremor of fear and sadness, but beneath it a small spark of relief began to glow. Mark sat beside her, quiet at first, letting her recover. Then he spoke softly. "You're safe now, Kayla. You're not alone, and you don't have to face your pain by yourself." Kayla wiped her tears with the sleeve of his coat, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know who I am anymore. Everything I wanted, everything I hoped for, is gone. I thought being a mother would make me complete, but I feel so empty." Mark reached out and gently held her hand. "Listen to me. Being a mother isn't the only way to matter. You've saved lives, Kayla. You've inspired people. You've cared for others when no one else could. That is your strength, your purpose. That is what makes you complete." Kayla looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of sorrow and wonder. For so long she had measured herself by what she could not give, by the dreams that never came true, and now a human, someone she had barely understood at first, was showing her a truth she had forgotten. She was more than her failures, more than her losses. She was enough. "But it's not the same," she murmured. "I wanted to hold a child, to feel that bond, to know that I had created life." "I can never have that." Mark's expression softened. "No, you can't have it the way you imagined. But that doesn't erase the love you've already given. The lives you've touched, the people you've saved, those are real. That love is yours. That is powerful. That is extraordinary." Kayla took a shaky breath. The rain had stopped, and the silence of the city felt like a blanket over her grief, gentle and protective. For the first time she felt a sense of clarity. The pain was still there, deep and raw, but so was something else, a fragile hope. She could survive this. She could heal. She could continue to matter in ways she had never imagined. Mark squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything you dreamed of. You just have to keep living, keep loving, keep caring. That is more than enough, Kayla. And I'll be here with you every step of the way." Kayla felt the weight in her chest lighten slightly. She leaned her head on his shoulder, letting herself rest, letting herself feel safe. For so long she had carried her pain alone, thinking no one could understand. But now she realized the true strength wasn't in enduring alone. It was in allowing someone to stand beside you, to lift you when you fell. I don't know what to say," she whispered. You saved me tonight. I thought I was beyond hope." "You don't have to say anything," Mark replied softly. "Just being here, just letting yourself breathe again. That's enough. You've already done more than you realize." Kayla looked up at him, her eyes meeting his. The fear in them was still there, but so was gratitude, relief, and a quiet determination. I want to try," she said slowly. "I want to live, even if it's hard." Mark smiled, a small warm smile that reached his eyes. "That's all I've ever wanted for you, Kayla. To see you choose life again, to see you fight for yourself. You are strong, more than you know, and I'll help you find your way." For the first time in a long time, Kayla felt a sense of peace. The storm had passed both outside and inside her. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but with Mark by her side, she felt she could face it. She had been saved from the edge, but more importantly, she had been reminded of the strength that lived within her, the strength to care, to survive, and to hope again. And in that quiet moment, under the soft glow of the city lights, Kayla allowed herself to believe that life, even with its pain and loss, could still be beautiful. Days had passed since that night on the bridge. The rain had stopped completely, leaving the city fresh and glimmering under the morning sun. Kayla walked slowly through a quiet park, her pale, shimmering skin catching the soft light. The warmth of the sun on her face felt foreign but comforting, a gentle reminder that the world was still alive and waiting for her to live in it too. Mark walked beside her, as he always had since that night. He didn't push, didn't speak too much, but his presence was a steady anchor in her life. They passed children playing, families laughing, and pets chasing sticks. Kayla's heart tightened at the sight of the young, innocent faces, a mixture of longing and sorrow rising up. But she no longer felt despair. She felt something else now, hope. Kayla began hesitantly, her voice soft. "I never thought I could feel normal again, after everything. After being so broken." Mark glanced at her and smiled gently. "You're not broken, Kayla, you never were. You just forgot how strong you are. The world hasn't taken your worth away. You've survived, and that makes you extraordinary." She looked down at her hands, the ones that had trembled over the railing, the ones that had felt useless for so long, and now they felt lighter, capable of more than despair. "I thought life had nothing left for me," she whispered, "but I think I want to try again, really try." Mark's eyes lit up, but his expression stayed calm, full of understanding. "That's all anyone can ask for. Step by step, Kayla, one moment at a time. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to live and to keep finding reasons to smile." Kayla nodded, feeling a small but powerful warmth spread through her chest. She realized that hope didn't come from what she lacked, but from what she had, the people who loved her, the moments she had lived, and the possibility of future joys she had not yet imagined. As they walked further into the park, Kayla noticed a group of children gathered around a stray dog, laughing as it rolled in the grass. She smiled, something she hadn't done freely in months. Her heart swelled with a strange new feeling, love that wasn't tied to motherhood, love that was simply the joy of life itself. She could care for others, help those in need, and still find happiness. She didn't have to be a mother to matter. She just had to be Kayla. "Mark," she said softly, "thank you for saving me, for not letting me fall. I don't know what I would have done without you." "You don't have to know," Mark replied, smiling warmly. "I did what anyone would do. I saw someone in pain, someone worth saving, and I saved them. And I'll keep saving you if you let me. Every time you stumble, every time life feels too hard." Kayla's eyes glimmered with tears, but these were different now. They were tears of gratitude, relief, and quiet determination. She realized that even though she had once stood at the edge of despair, she had been given a chance to continue, to find purpose, to live fully, and she would take it. The city stretched before them wide and endless, but it no longer felt overwhelming. Kayla knew the path ahead would have challenges, pain, and moments of doubt, but she also knew she was not alone. She had a human who believed in her, who had reminded her of her strength, and that was enough to face the future. Together, they walked into the park, into the bright morning, into a life full of possibilities. Kayla breathed in the fresh air, feeling alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. She was not defined by her losses nor by what she could not have. She was defined by her courage, her heart, and the connections she had made. And for the first time in a long time, Kayla smiled fully, freely, and with hope. Life had given her a second chance, and she would not waste it. She had been pulled back from the edge, and now she would soar, not because she had to, but because she could. Mark glanced at her and squeezed her hand. "Ready for the next step?" he asked gently. Kayla nodded, eyes bright. "Yes, let's go." And together, human and alien, they stepped forward into a world that was wide, uncertain, and full of wonder, ready to face it, ready to live, and ready to find joy in every small miracle life had to offer.